The following program is made possible by generous gifts from partners of Hinn Ministries and viewers like you in this area.
Pastor Benny Hinn is urgently preaching the gospel to the lost because the world's only hope is salvation through God's only Son, Jesus Christ.
The gift of God is life eternal.
This is your day to join Benny Hinn in proclaiming Jesus as Savior and Healer.
I have an amazing guest, and I mean amazing. David Farrell is a man who can remember anything he looks at. He is in the Guinness Book of World Records. I am amazed by you, and you're Pentecostal. Your mom is one of my partners, and here you are in the Guinness Book. And by the way, what year was that?
That was in the 2009 edition, but I still hold the record. I'm still the current world record holder.
And you, look here. He memorized, how many cards did you memorize?
Well, I memorized in order.
Look at the Saints right here.
59 decks of playing cards, all shuffled together. It took 4 volunteers to shuffle these
How
decks
many
of cards.
cards?
3,068 cards in total. And the key is I was only allowed to see each card once, so there's no repetition. And people from around the world have tried to break this record for years and haven't been able to. But I got to tell you, the really important thing is that I was not born with any special gift of memory. I had a terrible memory. I had ADHD and dyslexia when I was in school. And it was actually, speaking of my mom, I mean, she was a big inspiration to me to try to overcome these challenges. And that's why I became obsessed about memory techniques, and it's kind of what led me here.
He's going to help us today in memorizing the Bible.
Yeah.
And he's going to show you how to do it. But I am very impressed. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And David, I'm glad you're with me. I've never had a guest on the program who made the Guinness Book of World Records in memory. And now I'm going to actually test you, okay, in just a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you got a deck of cards that you gave me, and I'm going to actually. So make sure you're watching all this, and you know, tell your children to come to the TV and let's watch this.
Yeah, you're going to learn things today that not only can help you remember, books of the Bible and things like that, but can also help kids in school, and that's really my passion.
Wow. Now, you do hold you have special classes where you help people?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we hold seminars all
do?
across the world. I have a very good selling memory improvement kit that can help students. Essentially, my message is that whether or not you think you're born with a good memory and learning and studying and even focus is a skill. It's something that can be trained and taught, and that's why I've spent my whole life's work is coming up with the best, simplest way to teach people how to use their brain.
You've looked at all these cards already.
Yeah, and they were shuffled. Shuffled earlier.
They were shuffled. So now let me ask you. I'm going to show you the first card.
Okay.
Okay. Can you tell me what card is
Sure.
after that?
After that should be the 9 of Hearts. Then the.
You got it. Wait. Here.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. We can keep going.
And after that is what?
The 2 of Diamonds, and then the 10 of Spades, then the Queen of Diamonds.
Wow.
The King of Diamonds.
Wow. Wait. Okay.
5 of Hearts and the Queen of Clubs.
Okay, I'm gonna
keep going.
I'm gonna go to.
Oh, you're gonna test me here. Okay.
I'm gonna test you. Okay, so I took a whole bunch out.
Okay.
And what's after this one? Now there's a.
Okay, that should be right after that. Should be the 3 of Hearts.
Wait.
Then
let me see. Just see. Okay.
3 of Hearts. Yeah.
Wow.
And then the 7 of Hearts. And 7 of Clubs and 2 of Spades, and I can keep going if you can.
Keep going.
Ace of Spades, the 3 of Clubs.
Wait. The 3. Here's the 3.
And what's 6 of Clubs.
And what's after that?
The 5 of Spades.
Now listen. I've got them held, backwards so you can't see. Okay. Okay.
Close my eyes.
Wait. Okay. So after the 5 is what?
That should be the.
I got it backwards, people.
Yeah, this is fun. I have the 8 of Spades, then the.
Wait. It is the 8.
Awesome.
How do you do that? Okay, what's after the 8?
The Jack of Hearts.
What's after that?
You're having fun. This is great.
Okay, let's go.
And then should be the 10 of Hearts. And
you got it.
Then the 7 of Spades.
You've memorized. There's like how many cards in all this?
It took me about 5 minutes, but it's 52 cards. It's a full deck.
Okay, what's next?
Oh, sorry. 7 of Spades should be if I didn't lose track of the.
He's good. Dear God. Okay, let's.
Now I want you to know.
Wait.
Okay.
Let's go to the first one. I'm gonna
you're really
take some
here.
out here.
All right.
I'm gonna show you this one here.
All right, all right.
Okay, now I've got them backwards, Saints. There it is. I've got them backwards.
This is a lot of fun.
Backwards.
Okay, so the next one
What's the
should
next one?
be
I'm
the-
looking at it.
Okay, so that's the 2 of clubs. So then the next one should be the Queen of Spades. Right?
He's right on. Okay, show me how you. I gotta say how you. I've got to say.
All
how
right.
you did this.
Now this is a demonstration of what's
Yeah, I know,
possible.
but this is amazing that you would
Yeah.
remember all of them, and they're falling on the floor here, by the way. Okay, now,
okay.
how did you do that? You tell me.
Well-
you take all of them, put them together for yourself.
Sure. Well, essentially,
Honestly, how did you do
this is, it's numbers and suits, so it's considered the most difficult thing to memorize. But what I do is I've developed a series of codes that can turn things that are difficult to memorize into something that's easier to memorize. So essentially, what's going on in my head is nothing more complex than remembering scenes from a movie. You know, just like if you.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, think of your favorite movie. I don't know what would you say your favorite movie is? I'm curious.
I like Ben-Hur. I like
Ben-Hur's
Around the
great.
World in 80 Days with
Yeah.
David Niven, way back the old one. The classic, old
I
classics.
like
love it.
Casablanca. That's one of my favorites.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So you what?
But
You-
So if I were to give you a test on Ben-Hur, I'm sure you would do incredibly well, in terms of memory recall. But if you actually asked yourself, how long has it been since you saw that movie? I mean, probably
It's been a
it's
while.
like 10 years maybe or
Yeah,
something. I'm
uh-huh.
thinking. Yeah. So how come you do so well on that test yet we forget what we had for breakfast? It's because our memories.
I'll never forget what I.
Well,
breakfast, I
you're
can
an
tell you
exceptional
what I've
person.
had for breakfast
But
for
most
the
people
last month.
forget.
Now, with me, I can remember numbers. Like, I'm really good with phone numbers. I can tell you everybody's phone number almost. And that's, I get a picture in my head of the number, like 4 or a 9 or a 3. I'm terrible with names.
Yeah, you're famous with numbers, and this is something that a lot of people's memories are like. We call it being
So
one-sided.
How will I remember people's names? What's your name again? I remember you, but who? What's your name again? And I mess them up real bad.
Sure. Well, what you want to do is there's a certain part of the brain that has to be triggered, and it's triggered by what we like or what we enjoy. So if you just repeat someone's name over and over, like my last name's Pharaoh, right?
Right.
So you could probably say, oh, I'm related.
You know how I remembered your name today?
Oh, here we go.
By thinking of Pharaoh.
Thinking of like Egyptian
Pharaoh,
Pharaoh?
an Egyptian Pharaoh, and I remembered it.
Well, and that's the thing. If you try to think of here's the mistake
Hey,
people
that's an easy one, by the way.
No, but here's the mistake people make is they look at you and go, oh, I'm a fan of Mia Farrow, so I'll remember your name, and they won't. There's a lot of little myths out there, I have a friend named Dave, so I'll remember your name, Dave, but there's nothing that connects it. What you probably did, you're a very smart man, you probably didn't even realize you did this, but you imagined something.
I don't know what I did. All I know,
But you imagine like maybe me dressed up as a pharaoh or something.
Yes, I did this morning in the car.
Right.
I saw you. I saw a Pharaoh, and I said, I can remember that because I can see a Pharaoh.
So people
Okay.
who are incredibly good with names do things like that.
Many years ago, there was a guy who used to go to the full gospel businessman meetings.
Yeah.
And he had the same gift that you have.
Yeah.
And he said that you remember with images.
Yeah.
Like if you say fire, sorry, if you say hot, you see fire. If you say cold, you see ice. Is that true?
Yeah. You start to get into a pattern where it becomes almost automatic, where you meet people and you automatically think of an association, and it sticks, and people start treating you differently. People treat you with an awe because you're this walking encyclopedia, and that's one of the greatest parts about it.
If you just tuned in, this man made the Guinness Book of World Records in memory, and he memorized over 3,000 cards back in what,
It was
was
in
that?
like 2000. It was like 2007, and it was published in 2009. But the record still stands today. My first record was in 1996, so I've been doing this for a little while.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, now, today you're going to show us how to memorize the Bible, which is this is what we all want.
Right.
But
So,
how did this all begin with you?
well, I actually was diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia when I was in school. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, or they know somebody who's in that situation. And I was 14, and I was depressed, I'll be honest. I was depressed. And I had a teacher that went up to me, and I will say a lot of my teachers were wonderful, but there was this one who essentially told me that I wouldn't amount to anything, and said it to my face. And this was a turning point in my life.
That's when the fight came out in you.
Well, not at first, actually. It took my mom, actually, where we were at a parent-teacher meeting, and he said the same thing to her. And she's a lady, she's polite, and he turned away, and then she turned to me and said, "Don't you believe a darn word that guy says?" And I won't So we didn't use the word darn, but it was monumental
I like your
to me.
mother. Thank you.
I know.
That okay, go ahead.
So she did. I mean, in that moment, she gave me a great gift, which is the idea that I can fight back against.
Of course,
this.
you have to fight
And
back.
I became obsessed with how my brain works. You know, one of the simplest things that I can tell you right now, a simple way that if every student knew this, there would be a lot less blanking out on tests, a lot more higher test scores. A simple little thing you can do. It sounds almost too silly, but it works every single time.
Which is what?
It is to simply look up. One of the things I noticed, I was blanking out on a lot of my tests. This is going back into high school. I'm quite a ways out of high school now, but I was blanking out, and essentially what was going on is I would get stressed out. I would look down at my page, I'd forget the information, and then I'd eventually give up. I'd hand it to the teacher, and I'd walk out. When I walk a little farther down the hall, what happens? You start thinking about the test, and then the information pops into your head.
It does.
Right. The reason why that happens, most of the reason, partially is stress, but the other part is where you point your eyeballs.
Whoa.
It absolutely was amazing. Simply forcing myself, when I get stressed, to stop and look up and take just 1 or 2 breaths to relax. The information popped into my head. And then, of course, the science is that...
I have never heard that.
Well, the science is that behind your eyeballs is a bundle of nerves called the optic nerves, and it's a very, very large bundle of nerves, and it tends to direct energy in the brain. But without getting into that, everybody has been asked for directions, and your natural tendency is to look up. You go, okay, let's see, it's down the street. Okay, you're gonna go across this, and you go right.
We all do that.
It's not written on the sky,
Right.
but it's our natural tendency. But when you get stressed out, your natural tendency is to look down. That's why depressed people and stressed out people, they look down. So I always say, hey, keep looking up. And,
that is very powerful.
if you actually do it, when I've taught this to students, it has changed lives. And it's one tip. It takes 5 seconds. So, I mean, that's why I'm here to spread the word that with just a little bit of instruction on how your brain actually works, you can achieve just amazing miracles.
Where do you have your classes? Do you have anything online?
Yeah, we have a lot of
People can go
programs
to?
online. I've actually have an online university that gives credits in memory training for teachers as well.
Well,
and
we have it
Yeah.
on the screen, so you can look them
Yep.
up. I want to talk about the Bible. I mean,
All right.
You've got a system here on how to remember all the books, well, most of the books of the New Testament.
Yeah.
So for Matthew,
Well, let's start off at the beginning.
Okay.
When you want to teach this to kids, they're like, "Oh, I'm going to get you to memorize the Bible," and they're like, "I don't want to do that." You ever try to teach this to kids?
why is
right?
it that children can remember the books of the Bible with a song, and yet they can't remember it without a song? Is there something about
a song can help.
melody or?
A song can help. Essentially, what you're doing is you're adding more sensory information.
Like my children can sing the books of the Bible.
Yeah.
But if I should ask them
Right.
repeat that without a song, they struggle.
It's the same as like trying to say your alphabet without a song. That is the limitation of rote memory. They also probably can't easily go backwards either. I'm going to show you something. It'll just in just a couple of
I mean, my kids
minutes.
are grown and gone,
Yeah.
and they still remember. Like Joshua is 22, and he can still sing and remember the books of the Bible. But if I say, okay, give them to me,
Yeah.
he'll
He
stare
has
at
to,
me
da,
like,
da, 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 yeah.
yeah.
He
Then
has
he's
to
got to
sing.
go back to the song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, here is an improvement on that, all right? And this is just a little game you can play with kids. Essentially, I do this all the time in all of my seminars, even when it's not books of the Bible. Essentially, if a doctor were to test your memory, they would give you a list of random objects. So I say to them, let's play a game. Get out a piece of paper and start drawing things. And we start off with some of these items on the list, and then they draw it and essentially create a little story.
Wow.
And then you say, okay, I'm going to take this away. Do you remember the items? Take away what they were drawing. Do you remember the items in that story? Of course I remember the items. It's a funny story. And they remember every single thing forwards and backwards. And then I go, well, you know what? Each item corresponded to a book of the Bible, book of the New Testament. And then I flip it over and show them how it works. So I can do that for your listeners.
Yeah, do it right
Okay.
now. I love
So
that.
essentially,
Look at the camera and talk to him.
all right.
Right there.
All right. So let's start off with the first, obviously people who know Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and perhaps some of the viewers might not know everything off the top of their head. Well, here's a great trick for you. You start off, just get them to draw a picture of a welcome mat. That's to represent Matthew. So welcome mat. And then tell them that somebody's graffitied all over it with markers. So you got this mat that's just been destroyed with a bunch of Sharpie markers. And then you have to wash it, so you're washing it with warm water, lukewarm water for
Oh,
for
so
Luke.
there's Matthew, there's Mark,
and
okay,
there's
and
Luke.
there's Luke.
So
Okay.
just by picturing just that in the top of your head, all of a
Matt,
sudden,
that has
Yeah.
been messed up and washed.
and wash.
Wow.
So who's
With
washing it? I always say Johnny Depp is washing it because you want John in there. I used to use John Wayne, but then the kids didn't know who John Wayne was after a while.
Okay.
So we say Johnny Depp is washing the water, and he's doing this on stage for some reason because he's an actor. So that's
there you got Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts. Okay.
and Acts, absolutely. Then the next show on stage is a Roman play. So a bunch of Romans push everybody off the stage, so that's Romans. And then after that, the play is terrible for some reason. So everybody throws apple cores at them. Now this is where you have to get kind of creative because a lot of kids don't know the word Corinthians, so we just took the word core out of it and thought an apple core, and that's just a bit of a hint to get them to remember the whole thing.
Yep.
So it's a fun little game. So they throw apple cores, and then after that is Galatians. So I imagine a bunch of seagulls for Galatians, gulls. Flying
How do
around
you tie
because
the
of it.
Gauls with the mat, with the Romans, with the
Well,
stage? with
what
the-
you'd imagine is like the apple cores are attracting the gulls. So one thing attracts
Okay,
the next thing, and that attracts the
I
next
can remember
thing.
this. So there's a mat, and somebody messes it up, and somebody washes it.
Yeah.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, because Luke
Warm water. Yeah.
And then John comes up, so there's John, and he's acting, so there's
On
Acts,
stage,
and there's a bunch of Roman soldiers come
yeah.
up.
And the
Oh,
other thing
that's
is, a lot of
wonderful
people
what
know
you
the
do.
books of the Bible, but they might not know the exact order. This gives them an image they can always go back to.
With
in
a
case
with
they
a play in their head, going in their head, yeah.
So I mean, just to finish it off, after the seagulls, you got to pay an exterminator to get rid of the seagulls, so they have to pay them a big fee, and that's to remind you of Ephesians.
yeah.
And we could keep on going, but that's essentially because of 1st and 2nd Corinthians that gets.
You
the
have
first-
all this in
the
your
first
book,
10.
right?
Yes, absolutely. We have all in the book, and also in the program we show you step by step
Have
all
you
of the memory
seen people?
techniques.
Okay, now tell me what you've seen with people that you've helped who had no memory or no good memory.
Oh my God!
Okay, now tell me about it.
I had an 86-year-old woman in Chicago. She grabbed my rather forcefully for an 86-year-old woman. She's very strong. She grabbed my jacket and she said, "What did you do to my brain?"
It's olive oil, I'm telling you.
It's the olive oil. There you
olive
go.
oil, brother,
She says,
yeah.
"What did you do to my brain?" She was in a forgetful state of mind. She was getting very worried about her memory when she turned 80, and she took my program. And 6 years later, she says that she's sharper than her kids. She's actually tutoring her grandkids.
Have
helping
you
them
seen
in school.
people succeed in business who could not succeed in
I
business?
have lists of emails from people who are doctors and lawyers now, and they say that they wouldn't have been able to pass the bar, they wouldn't be able to pass these exams. I don't know how I feel about the lawyers, but I think the doctors make up for it. That's the joke. No, I love the lawyers too. Don't sue me. But I have lists of people, and especially I also do the college circuit, and I speak at churches as well. And we do fundraisers.
You've done also
students.
you've done some shows. You've been on different programs.
Yeah, I've been on
what?
like Dr. Oz, the Today Show,
You've been on
CNN.
Oz and Today,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah, and Today Show, CNN, Fox.
What do you do on what do you show them?
Well,
Same thing
yeah,
you're
we
doing
do a
now?
demonstration like this, but essentially my passion really is to show people that this is more than just a parlor trick. This is something that people can use. If we let it, it could revolutionize education. It could bring us a whole new level of really brilliant kids that can be part of the next wave of technology.
How did you
and everything.
overcome your problem when you were a little boy?
Well, part of it was techniques, and part of it was.
Tell, just in case somebody missed what you said earlier.
Yeah,
tell them again.
I was diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia going into school.
How did you overcome that?
Well, the biggest part was the self-esteem. To be honest, you can kind of do a workaround when it comes to actual study skills, but the biggest problem I noticed with other students my same age, when they got ADD, they gave up. They're like, "Oh, what? I don't have to try anymore because I have these learning disabilities." And for me, it made me try harder. So there is a technique actually in the CD set that I'm really passionate about. That is a technique to turn on focus. It's a way we discovered. Have you ever really felt you're in the zone? You're able to read really fast and just learn quickly.
Absolutely,
and everything.
yeah.
And there's other times that you want to be there, but you have kind of a writer's block. Probably, you're a great writer. So. This technique was kind of derived from these writers who were getting writer's block. And there's a way to structure your time so that you're actually able to focus more. And it essentially cured me of my ADD, or I should say it allowed me to use it as an advantage. Now I can focus better than most people because I'm able to activate focus in the brain.
You think smartphones are hurting us? Now we rely so much on
Yeah,
our iPhone, rather
smartphones
than
are
memory and all this stuff.
Well, smartphones are very. I actually have worked really hard in the science of this lately, and there have been some studies. Essentially, what we've done is we rely on our smartphones to do a lot of memory work for us. It started when phones had the address books, and we stopped remembering the phone numbers. You are very good at. You kept on remembering the
Yeah,
numbers, so that's probably
course.
kept you very
I
sharp.
like my brain to stay alive.
Well, that is essentially my big message, that if you exercise your brain, if you use it on a regular basis, all the studies are very clear. You cut your risk for memory loss as you get older, you get brain sharper. But more than that, you can participate in life. You can learn new things. You can enjoy life more because you're able to come up to speed. So what we've done with people. Can I tell you one quick
Anything
story?
you want, of course you can tell me.
There's this one little girl that made a big, because you asked about my customers and what I've done. And I went to this school and I volunteered my time to go to this school to teach times tables. And we finished the times table lessons, and it's fun. It's actually a lot like this, where they draw pictures, and at the end the pictures turn into the times